Hello and welcome to our latest unboxing video. I'm Eliza here at the Hatfield Public Library with a box of nonfiction books, starting with this one, Necessary Trouble, Growing Up at Mid-Century, Drew Gilpin Faust, who you see here on the cover. This is a memoir. We've already had patrons asking for it, and it is about a woman growing up in the 1950s in conservative, segregated Virginia, um, and sort of about her, I guess, journey through the 60s that would eventually lead her to become a historian, studying the very conflicts she grew up in. Again, people already wanting to read that. We have Jackie, Public, Private, Secret. Oh, such a fabulous photo. She always took fabulous photos. This is written by J. Randy Taraborrelli. And if you didn't guess, it is a new biography of legendary former First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. I bet there are more pictures inside. Tangled Vines by John Glatt, Power, Privilege, and the Murdaugh Family Murders. I've never heard of the Murdaugh family murders, but I guess they took place in South Carolina, a very wealthy family, and then the wife and son were found murdered, and then years later, the husband was found murdered. So I guess this is the whole true crime story of what they think happened. Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tulleken. This is a word, a sort of a phrase that's just come up recently a lot. The idea of things not just being processed food, but ultra processed food and what that means. The subtitle is The Science Behind Food That Isn't Food. The Parrot and the Igloo. I don't know why I laughed. Climate and the Science of Denial. This is by David Lipsky. And so specifically looking at climate change denialists and I guess how we moved from the extreme of sort of accepting climate change back in the 50s to having so many people denying it and just some of the mentality behind that. Ooh, okay. New biography. I'm sorry, memoir of Melissa Etheridge. It's called Talking to My Angels. Another great photo on the cover. And yeah, very, very famous, groundbreaking rock musician. We have The Fourth Turning is Here. This is by Neil Howe. So this is a theory that history moves in seasons and sort of like with waves and crises that come along in cycles. And so we're in a cycle. And so the idea is that by placing where we are on the cycle, we can sort of learn about what's likely to happen. Some people believe this more than others, but interesting to read about. We have the 272, the families who were enslaved and sold to build the American Catholic Church, Rachel L. Swarns. I read about this. This sounds fascinating. So it says in 1838, a group of America's most prominent Catholic priests sold 272 enslaved people to save their mission, despite the fact that some of them were against slavery. And then this goes and looks at the descendants of those enslaved people to see what happened to them. Valiant Women. The Extraordinary American Service Women Who Helped Win World War II. This is by Lena Andrews. I feel like we have so much variety in this box. Really, anything you could potentially be interested in. Blowback, A Warning to Save Democracy from the Next Trump. And this is by Miles Taylor. And his previous book was called A Warning. I feel like probably it's clear from the subtitle. Yes, with the 2024 election approaching. Trail of the Lost, through a relentless search to bring home the missing hikers of the Pacific Coast Crest Trail. This is by Andrea Lankford. You can sort of interesting. I like how they sort of like have the scenery, and then you also can sort of see the trail itself superimposed on there. So this was a woman who worked as a park ranger, helping rescue people, and then I think I read that she left being a park ranger, but then because she was good at finding people, they had some more missing people, and she ended up going back to try to help them. I enjoy stories like this. It's always very fascinating. We have The Quickening by Elizabeth Rush, Creation and Community at the Ends of the Earth. So this book has been getting a lot of sort of critical attention because it's about a woman who was part of a crew of 57 scientists who went to visit the Doomsday Glacier, which is a glacier that's rapidly deteriorating and could have potentially catastrophic impact on rising sea levels. So she's in this very sort of like contemplating, very bad things happening to the world, and at the same time, she is she's pregnant herself, and so she sort of has to like reckon like having a child in this world. This is something I think about a lot. I don't know if I'll read the book. It sounds like a little much to me, but it's definitely been getting a lot of great critical praise of just how powerful it is to read. Maybe I will read it. Probably be good. It might be cathartic because it is definitely something I think about. On a lighter note, we have veggie burgers every which way. Actually, this is very appropriate because eating more vegetarian, which is something I've been trying to push my children to do, sometimes against their will, but very, very good for the planet. Definitely one thing that sometimes it feels like there's nothing you can do as an individual, but actually eating less meat is a thing. And this is by Lukas Volger. And I like, for me, again, with children, I particularly like veggie burgers because maybe they don't want to eat vegetables, but then if you kind of like make them into a burger-like situation, they get more excited. The kids get more excited, and they can put ketchup on or whatever they want. They definitely don't put mushrooms on. So let's see. Oh, I guess they have. Okay, here's the veggie burgers themselves. So, white bean burgers. That sounds good. I feel like I never use white beans, but then when other people do, I'm like, oh yeah, no, these are good. Kale and quinoa. That sounds delicious. Baked falafel. I really want to make those. I love falafel. Cashew leek burgers. These all sound good to me. Um, Sesame, sweet potato, and cabbage. Yeah, I really want to try some of these. Um, like for real. The Country of the Blind, a memoir at the end of sight by Andrew Leland. And this is by a man who started to go blind, and just sort of wrote about sort of both the physical and emotional implications of what that was like for him, and like his relationship with his family and his relationship with the world. 3 more books. We have My Friend Anne Frank. So this is about an actual woman named Hannah Pick-Goslar who is friends with Anne Frank and survived the Holocaust, and just her story of what her life was like. It says the inspiring heart and heartbreaking true story of best friends torn apart and reunited against the odds. Whew. In addition to having a lot of variety, I feel like this box of books is really trying to make me cry. We have Painting Calm. Oh, good. This will help. Painting Calm. Connect to nature through the art of watercolor. I just really love the cover of this. And it's kind of funny because it's sort of unnecessary to, I mean, you could argue it's sort of unnecessary to paint something that's already been painted. Like, clearly it's here in front of us. But the idea of making something that beautiful is really appealing to me. And so simple. I love all the exercises. Just seems like very, yeah, yeah. I can definitely see the appeal. Maybe not at this moment in my life, but I would love to try these things, to make my own versions of these things. Last of all, yay, we are ending on a cookbook that looks delicious. Let's eat 101 recipes to fill your heart and home. And by Dan Pelosi. And it's kind of funny because he has a handle. It says at Grossy Pelosi. I'm going to assume that's an Instagram handle. It's sort of funny that it doesn't specify what network. Wow, a lot of photos in this. Just tons. I guess that makes sense if it's maybe someone who's become famous through social media. So, like, here's a chapter on marinara. We have the first one is called Grossy's marinara. Oh, look, he has a guide to marinara. It's like when people sort of give overviews of like specific recipe, but also like here's some general thoughts about this thing. Because you don't do a recipe the same every time. That looks delicious. Uh, my gosh, there's so many pictures. I feel like I always say I like at least one picture per recipe, but this is like a lot of pictures per recipe. So now we have the recipe for meatloaf balls. Yeah, looks delicious. A lot of photos. Seems like a pretty clear, laid out recipe. It's nice. That's it. This is my big box of nonfiction. I will be back soon with more. Bye.